Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. I am Gunnar Rios, and welcome to another episode of the Logical Gamers podcast. I am joined tonight by Mr. Blanca Kong and Mr. Esoteric, and tonight's topic is going to be pretty much stupid shit that CEOs say in regards to Borderlands 4, and a overall general discussion on another discussion, one of many that we've had over the course of this podcast, on the gaming industry and my opinion, and these gentlemen will give theirs when we get to it, that people are less willing to pay $80 for mediocre at best video games than they were willing to pay $70. So stay tuned for that end. But first, we're going to talk about Randy Pitchford's, quite frankly, tone deaf Twitter interactions with the internet and his response and backpedal to that response in relation to the potential price of the upcoming Borderlands 4 game. So, the article that we're going to be talking about here is from IGN. Loathe am I to have an IGN article, but this was the only one that I could find that had his first response and then his follow up to that first Twitter interaction. So, we are where we are. So, the article starts with Randy Pitchford has addressed the backlash to his controversial Borderlands 4 $80 real fans tweet after someone ran it through a Handsome Jack AI. I didn't think such a thing existed, but here we are. So the origins of this comes from Randy's response to a fan who expressed concerns about the prospect of paying $80 for Borderlands 4. And he said, pretty much, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. So here's the whole Twitter exchange that they had. So this individual on Twitter said, Randy, this game better not be $80. Don't take that risk. A lot of gamers aren't going to pay $80 and feed this notion of constant increase of the price tag. You are the CEO, which he is. You have some say with the price when it comes to your publisher. Randy's response to this was, A, not my call. B, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to make it happen. My local game store had Star Flight for Sega Genesis for $80 in 1991 when I was just out of high school working minimum wage at an ice cream parlor in Prismo Beach, and I found a way to make it happen. So, needless to say, that response to his tweet was not positive. You had people saying, I'm going to pirate Borderlands 4, said a Twitter user. Another one, please stop, just apologize and move on. This isn't fair to your developers. If you care about them, just do the right thing, dude. And another one said, Randy, we are begging you to stop. Borderlands 4 had so much hype and it's being ruined in a day. Let people want and like and support the game and all the amazing people who made it. So, Randy has yet to apologize directly for the comments, but he did point to a recent article, a recent interview he gave at PAX East, and now he's actually released a full apology. So, dialogue, tweets from a handsome Jack. Now Pitchford inched closer to an actual apology after Borderlands streamer Mulsey tweeted dialogue from Handsome Jack AI prompted by a user called Duke Newcomb who fed it Pitchford's original tweet. So the Handsome Jack kind of AI thing, I'll just read it for levity's sakes, says, oh boohoo, $80 for Borderlands 4, let me break out the world's tiniest violin. Crafted from iridium and oiled with the tears of whiny vault hunters. Listen, Cupcake, you're not buying a game, you're investing in a premium, galaxy-shattering experience, personally engineered to blast your sad little dopamine receptors into orbit. You think quality loot and chaotic mayhem just code itself? You want guns that sprout legs, sing sea shanties, and explode into loot goblins without paying top dollar? Grow up. Back in my day, I built an entire moon base with my own two hands and a metric ton of disposable Hyperion interns. And you're crying about spending a few bucks more to virtually murder skags with style? Please. But hey, if $80 is too steep, there's always a solution. Just don't buy it. More legendary drops for the rest of us, and fewer mouth breathing freeloaders clogging up my loot pools. Win win, stay broke hero. Now, quite frankly, this is the honest response. This is how they all feel. This is how they all look at you and see you. So, AI really is the future because at least it's pretty honest. It hasn't learned to lie like humans yet, so take that for what you will. So, um, the last bit of the article goes, boy howdy, jackpot, Jack GPT. Is that how I sound? My bad, but cheers to Duke Newcomb and Mosey OG for the funniest thing I'm going to read today. In serious though, nobody likes being taken for granted, and it's not my intent. I'm humbled by the love and support everyone has shown the team as we push hard to get this amazing game in your hands. They're crushing it, and I can't wait for everyone to play what's going on to be the best Borderlands ever. Regardless of where the price lands, it's going to be worth it and then some. Back to work for me. Pitchford clearly would like to draw a line under this week's self inflicted drama, but it seems likely the debate about Borderlands 4's price will resurface as soon as pre orders go live. At that point, publisher 2K Games will have to announce the price of the game, and whether it's 80 or 70 or something else, it will be a bigger talking point now than it might have been. So, pretty much TLDR, CEO interacts with people on the internet, um, puts his foot in his mouth, and then tries to pivot by making fun of his own, making fun of his own take, and then basically saying, "Hey, look, I'm working with a bunch of wonderful people. We're gonna make the bestest game ever. It'll be great no matter what price point it is." So, TLDR summary of that whole thing. He knows exactly what the price is. The game will more than likely cost $80. Um, this is the new standard. Nintendo started it, Microsoft picked it up, and other developers are going to go with it. Sony will more than likely follow suit. $80 is the new standard. I don't like it. A lot of people don't like it. But there's no way that him, the CEO of Gearbox Studios, does not know the price of this game. More than likely, the advertising for this game is already being made. The stuff that's going to go up in your GameStops and the stuff that's going to go online is already being made. More than likely, the price is already set in stone. And my money is on this game costing $80. Just standard edition, $80 game. They'll make the same excuses they made when games went from $60 to $70. Oh, development costs have increased. Um, they'll probably throw in tariffs now because that's a readily available, easy excuse. And this game will be 80. It's also been confirmed that this game has 2 times the budget of Borderlands 3. So this game is already bigger than the last one. And there's no way they're not going to make this game cost $80 when the game has double the budget of the last Borderlands game. Just, there's no way. So pretty much this is where we are with the game industry. So before we get to the second half of the conversation, which is just a general open-ended conversation, and my thoughts on where the player base stands in relation to spending $80 for video games in general, I'm just gonna pass it off to these two gentlemen. What do you guys think of the article, Randy's comments, his attempt to backpedal and make it funny, haha. Look, I'm making fun of myself. What do you guys think? What's going on?
Okay, I guess I'll go first. I think his initial comment was kind of like the proverbial poking the bear, trying to see how far you can get to poke it before it retaliates. And then I think his humor behind what he said to try to mitigate the damage of what he said was that's pretty much what it was. It's kind of like those it's kind of like that saying where like if somebody is making a joke about you or a joke towards you, there's some truth in it. That's pretty much his expectation, right? I think he's sort of retaliation of the fans of Borderlands, and we weren't as receptive to what he said, so he kind of backpedaled and tried to like again mitigate any damage that he said. But the damage is done, right? Because the folks who are speaking out to him and telling him don't make this game $80, and for him to reply and say something along the lines of like, well, pretty much the real fans will buy it. Not only are you not diminishing, excuse me, diminishing, your fan base based upon uh, the amount of money they have in their wallets, but you're also basically diminishing like people's personal livelihoods. Just because you were able to buy a game for the Sega Genesis that was $80 back in the 90s, and you had a job that allowed you to do so, doesn't mean that there aren't variables that come into play for other people's livelihoods. People have children to take care of, people are at different stages of their life, might be uh, dealing with financial ruin to some degree, right? If they were to buy this game for $80, there are people that have to, be frugal when it comes to their spending, because the slightest deficit in their like budget can really disrupt whatever they got going on financially. So he kind of pretty much, by saying that, he kind of like diminished all of that. And I don't think that because you're not unable to acquire the game that you're not a fan. Like if you have purchased the game from the first one to the third one, and you're attempting to get the fourth one, then you are a fan. And for those people who have played the first and third one and are unable to deal with the current price point that they're pushing, they're just as real of fans. They just, for the most part, either have financial responsibilities or respect. It's like, why are you raising the price for this game? Like, we don't even think it's an $80 game. I think the better response that Randy should have provided was gameplay. Where's the trailers? Where's the gameplay that warrants this $80? Where's the like, okay, even if it was just some bullshit statement like, well, we had to increase the servers for mass multiplayer, or here's the new engine that we moved Borderlands to in order for you to have a better experience. Like, you could have provided us information pertaining to that, where people would possibly be a little bit more inclined to like, well, okay, that I can see where you kind of giving us the extra $10. I see where it's going and whatnot. But no, he did not say that. And then he realized that he had his foot in his mouth, and then decided to, backpedal with the humorous response and whatnot. Um, I honestly speaking, I don't think that this game is going to do well if they do release it at $80. There are going to be some people that just don't care. They're like, well, whatever. I really do like the game and I really do want to play it. So they're going to bend the knee. But I think the majority of the people who are fans of Borderlands will pretty much say, no, we're not doing that. Not only because they don't want to, pay for a game at that price point, but also because of what Randy said. You can rub someone the wrong way very easily by what you say, especially considering that you have the power to, make changes. And for people that supported you throughout all this time, and they're making such a minor request, might not be a minor request for the company, because $10 is a big amount depending upon how much units they sell. Like that, that's a lot of money, all things considered. But you got to think of the amount of people that are kind of like a little deterred now from the comment that you made. Um, and this is the last thing that I'll say. It's like they didn't learn from Microsoft. I don't recall who that guy was that said what they said. Um, his name escapes me, but it was about the consoles and whatnot. I think it was, what was it, the Xbox One X or something that was coming out, and he made that comment like, well, if you can't afford it, then we have a product for you, and it's the Xbox 360.
Mm.
Like, that left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths. And the console release took a hit for that. So all I'm asking is that, CEOs and people who are in corporate just show a little humility and touch a bit of grass, right? Because honestly, Nintendo is pushing for $80 games, which nobody wants. Everybody hates that. Nobody wants to pay for games at an increased price, like that, no way, shape, or form. But if anybody that can possibly do it would be Nintendo, simply because of the longevity of the games that they have, their library that has been uh, around for over 2 decades. Hell, some of the franchises has been around before I was even born. I'm older than Google, and the game is older than me, so that speaks volumes, right? Um, so I think people need to, kind of think realistically. Like Borderlands does have some type of tenure, absolutely, in terms of how long the game has been out. I think it's been out around maybe the early 2000s or whatnot, give or take. Um, but you're not at the level of Nintendo. Like you're definitely not. Um, so yeah, have some humility. Understand where your fan base is coming from. If they're coming to you and requesting that you keep the price at a steady 70 or even better a lower price, that means that they are looking forward to the game but just can't afford it, or is not willing to shell out the amount of money that you're requesting. And given the history of the game, because honestly, from what I've seen, I did not play Borderlands. Like I've briefly seen clips. I've watched like my nephews play it from time to time. I'm not an avid like fan of it. It does look interesting, but me personally, I don't even think I would pay full price for that game. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on it for now.
All right, so uh, Wolf might pop in at the end of the recording. He has an interest in chatting. He's not ready yet. So I'll let you know, esoteric, or you guys can like text or whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, um, where do I start? So what I'm about to say might seem crazy because it's counterintuitive to what everybody else's stance is on this. I'm gonna respond to Randy's response first. So what he said, I don't think was wrong per se, if you look at it. So what he says is basically like, if you're a real fan, you'll find a way to buy the game. And then he tells an anecdotal story where like he was young and broke, and there was an expensive game, and he saved the money, he bought the game, right?
Hmm.
I think that's true. Like if you're a fan of the franchise Borderlands, then you'll buy the game because I think Borderlands generally gives you dozens and dozens of hours of content. So if you're into that sort of game, then the $80 can be justified. Like if it was a Resident Evil game or a Monster Hunter game, I think I can justify paying $80 for it. Would I? Kind of depends. I'd have to see the game, right? Because Capcom has been known to disappoint me with both Monster Hunter and Resident Evil, so it might be a flop of RE or Monster Hunter game.
Hmm.
So in that case, I probably wouldn't spend 80 if I can determine whether or not if I would like it or not. But I've already said this before. Like the industry is going a certain way, and it's Pandora's box. Once we open the box, there's no closing the box. Like once this $80 conversation, once this price increase conversation started 5 years ago with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and 2K, once that conversation was opened about, oh, we got to increase the price of games, and people kind of accepted it, it only kind of justifies the industry's curiosity to push to see how far they can go. And now with Grand Theft Auto 6, we did a podcast, I think a few months ago now, or at least a few weeks ago, where like $100 is too much for games. I think it's too much, but like does the market think it's too much? And I've already admitted that I would probably pay $100 if I think a game is really good and really worth it. But it has to be like some Elden Ring level shit where it's just like this game is like this is going to be game of the year status right here. But at the same time, I could have that determination and be let down like I did with Monster Hunter Wilds, where I played it for like the first 2 weeks and then have no interest in revisiting it. So that could happen too. So it's a coin toss. It's it's a roll of the dice. Um, so I agree with his sentiment, which might sound crazy, but I think the only reason he's getting this kind of backlash is because it's coming from him, a CEO. These are things that a gamer would say to another gamer, or a fanboy would say to another fanboy. Like, this isn't the type of thing that you would expect from an older man, first of all, and second of all, from high level executive. It's like, dude, what are you doing down here in like the mud trenches saying shit like this? This is some Reddit shit that you're saying, right? That's the problem. That's where it's like you should be above this, right? And I hate when executives engage in corporate speak. I'd rather people just kind of say what it is, instead of me having to read between the lines. But this is exactly why people don't do that. They don't say what they actually feel because they get fucking crapped on. And this is how he feels. And that handsome Jack AI response thing, like Gunnar said in the beginning, that's what they really want to say. Is like, listen, if you're a brokey, just say so. Like they want to say that because that's how they really feel. Because these are at the end of the day human beings, just like you and I, and no matter how high, how much money people make or how high they get, in the corporate ladder, whatever that looks like, they're still people, and people are flawed inherently. And some might argue that the more successful you become, the less empathetic you become, and the more of a shithead you become. And obviously, there's going to be exceptions to that, but I think generally speaking, I think most people agree. Rich, if you ever engage with like wealthier people, they tend to be assholes. At least from my experience, and I think from many people's experience. And that's because, well, they feel like they can be an asshole because it's like, well, what are you going to do about it, right? Until you punch them in the face and remind them that they're mortal, but that's a different conversation.
Hmm.
Um, this guy's net worth is like $250 million. Like this guy's, he has been out of this, kind of like position. Like he's comparing, like, oh, in the past I had to spend $80 in the '90s on this game. Like he is so removed from that story that it's hard for anybody to hear that and be like, you know what, you're right. I can say that, I could see that, but like for most people, it's hard. It's like, dude, you're not even like you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Like you these are things you don't have to ever worry about again. These are things that the next two generations of your family probably won't have to ever worry about. Like, shut the fuck up. That's how people take it, and I get that. But I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I think it was just wrong for him to say it out loud. And yeah, this is an exact result of Nintendo, you know, opening up another layer of that box. That $80 conversation is like now the pre-orders are out. Switch 2 is selling super well, right? They can't even keep demand with the pre-orders. Scalpers are gonna scalp. FOMO's gonna take place. People are gonna buy into it and fall into it because, oh, I want to be a part of you know, I want to be a part of the day one crew. It's gonna come at a cost, and I think the same thing is gonna happen with Borderlands. Like, it's gonna come out, people are gonna bitch and complain and like let's boycott, and then it's gonna be the same thing that happened with the Pokemon games over the last few years. Oh, they're not giving us all the Pokemon and Sword and Shield. Boycott them. What happened? Best selling Pokemon game in the franchise's history up until that point. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet come out. Oh, this game is buggy. Blah blah blah. This is not worth it. Boycott. Breaks the record again. It's just like, okay. So like the market is going to dictate where things go, no matter how you feel as an individual, because while you can vote with your wallet, it takes a certain amount of the population in order for it to cause any kind of damage, right? If you're playing a video game, for example, and you're fighting an enemy and they're doing 1 HP and you got 1,000 HP, you're like, I'm not worried about you. But the moment they do a critical attack and they're doing hundreds of damage, it's like, oh, okay, now I got to take you seriously. And that's how the industry, or how any industry works. If you're not denting them and hitting them where it hurts, if you're not, dealing any significant damage, then it doesn't matter because they're just going to brush it off and they're going to recover and they're going to continue to move forward. And that's how the market has behaved over the last few years. I foresee that that's how the market's going to continue to behave, because I think people have less willpower now than they did before. I think people are more fragile. I think people are more susceptible to these business practices, and so I think the industry is just. I think these executives they're going to come out winning. Um, and for me personally, I'm not buying Borderlands 4. I didn't even buy Borderlands 3. The last Borderlands that I bought at launch full price was Borderlands 2, and that was like 10 years ago. So, like, to me, this is nothing. This is a nothing burger. I don't care. Um, do I like Borderlands? Yeah, I like the first two. Um, and if I see part three on a GameStop shelf for $5, yeah, I'll probably pick it up because whatever, it's $5. And in 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 years, when I see Borderlands 4 on the shelf for $5 or $10, yeah, I'll probably pick it up then because it won't be any different. In fact, it'll be a better game at that point than it would be come this September. So,
That's a good
if
point.
anything, it just behooves me to fucking wait. And I've got plenty of games to play anyway. So that's kind of my stance on everything. Maybe I jumped the gun there and I started talking about the industry. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's a good segue.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's this man's name? Richard? Jack?
Randy.
Randy Pitchford.
Randy. There you go. I knew it was one of them names. Randy, I mean, listen, I don't think he's wrong. I think what he said is accurate and correct. If you're a fan of any franchise, of anything, you'll find a way. And if you can't find a way for some reason, then I think you have bigger problems on your plate than a video game. Honestly, if you can't scrape up $80, let's say if you found out you heard about this today and the game comes out, I think it's September, October. This is supposed to come out holiday this year. If you can't save $20 a month to be able to buy this game comfortably by September or October, whenever this drops, like, I don't know, man. You got some other issues you need to take care of. That's what I think. So that's me looking at it from a very practical standpoint. But I understand gamers' frustration. What they're really saying is that they don't want the industry to continue to go down this road because it's gonna continue to hurt the gamer's pocket, and we're gonna continue to be like, cashed out of the hobby, and that's what people don't want. That's really the problem here. It's not Borderlands 4 being $80. That's just a surface level issue. The real issue is the industry pushing forward, because once we get over this $80 hump, which I think we will, Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be like, what can we do? 120? Right? And then if that gets over, what's next? Right? Xbox has already increased the prices of their consoles and their accessories. Nintendo's doing what they're doing with the Switch 2. That seems to be okay. What is PlayStation going to do? We don't know, but we have an idea, right? And I think people are going to bend the knee to that as well, whatever that might be. I don't know. I think that's the real issue. So with that being said, I'll leave it back to the rest of you guys. You guys can respond to what I said or say your own thing. Up to you.
All right.
Oh, you want to go, Gunner, or?
Yeah. I'll just respond to some of the things that Kong said.
Okay.
Maybe drop a little white pill, or more like a little revenge on this one. So, well, I think you're right in a lot of what you said. The fact that, people have like, oh, Pokemon runs at 2 frames, best-selling Pokemon game. You're right. I think what a lot of people keep forgetting is that Nintendo is abnormal. Nintendo has conditioned their audience since the NES to pay full price for their games, and their games just don't go on sale or barely go on sale. Or people can justify the price of these games by saying Nintendo delivers quality. Quality, that word, differs between person to person. So that's a personal take. Well, I think Nintendo is singularly insulated from a lot of this stuff. Gearbox and Borderlands is not. Because let's be real, Borderlands hasn't really been relevant since the 2000s because it still uses humor from the 2000s. Borderlands is a game that people that play because they have a hardcore fan base that legitimately likes the game, and it's because it's been around for a while. And going back to what I said about the budgets, these games, these modern games, their budgets are astronomical. So nowadays, if you fail big. And by failing big, your studio disappears. So if Randy's opening his mouth and pissing off the internet and Borderlands 4 does not perform well when they have a super huge budget that's amplified by all the marketing they're going to do, and if they fail big. And Gearbox Studio goes, I don't know if we can keep the lights opening. And the gamers just sit in the corner and go, sucks to suck, Randy. I guess maybe you shouldn't have charged $80 for your game. And my evidence for that is we're seeing a lot of franchises die and go the way of the dinosaur. Um, Dragon Age Origins flopped. The lead developer of that game left BioWare.
You mean Veilguard, right?
Veilguard, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Veilguard. The lead developer, left to go to Netflix Games. So that game's done. You're not seeing another Dragon Age. Oh, but people didn't show up for that. Avowed. That game flopped. That studio more than likely will not be around anymore. Um, and we're just seeing Doom the Dark Ages. Doom, one of the most legendary boomer shooters to ever exist. Doom the Dark Ages is not performing well. It's not. There are more people playing the last Doom game, Doom Eternal, than are playing the Dark Ages. And Doom, id Software recently made a post on the internet saying we had 300 million players. Notice the word players. Not 300 sold, not 300 sold and shipped, players. And the service that's going to help kill a lot of these overpriced games, it's going to be Game Pass. Game Pass is going to help kill a lot of these games because if your game's on Game Pass, it will not sell as well as it will if it wasn't on Game Pass. Because everybody on Game Pass is already more than likely paying for Game Pass, and I doubt people are going to buy Game Pass specifically for a game like Doom Eternal. So all they're doing is hurting their sales by having their game on Game Pass, even though it's convenient for the player. And if your sales hurt, if your budget is in the hundreds of millions and you cannot recoup that to break even, let alone make a profit, your game's going to fail and your studio might close. So, for the sake of Randy and for the sake of Gearbox, I hope Borderlands 4 does well because if it doesn't, we might not see a Borderlands 5. And I'm going to shrug and go, oh, well, I guess you should have made it 70. So it's kind of like a mutually assured destruction. I'm gonna see my franchise that I grew up on die and never make another game. But I'd rather do that than support your poisonous, um, money grubbing business model. So I think we've kind of hit that point, and there's been a couple of recent game flops. Another one is Assassin's Creed. I don't know if we're going to see another Assassin's Creed because that game just did not perform well, despite Ubisoft telling you we had 3 million players. So, yeah, I think the white pill or the revenge pill, take whatever pill you want, is that if because these game budgets are so bloated and so massively inflated, do not buy them. And enough people don't buy them, that means the game fails and you'll never see your franchise again, which sucks, but hey, you don't reward this bad behavior. But so I just wanted to put that perspective in there. I'll pass it off to Esso and he can give us his take. And this is an industry talk now, not really so much about Borderlands anymore, so just feel free to go where you want with it.
No, I mean, you guys pretty much said the gist of it. I was just gonna say, in reply to what Kong said about Randy's like statement and whatnot. Yeah, I mean his statement pertaining to like, yeah, real fans are going to acquire the game no matter what. Absolutely can agree with it. but like you said, it's the wrong person pretty much making that statement. And also, you don't want to exacerbate the situation, right? Like you're kind of like taking the knife and kind of twisting it, because the fact that we have to pay $80, which is it's our fault as a collective, due to the fact that we are pretty much answering and consenting with our wallets, because it's like, oh, $80 here, okay, here's our wallet, we're gonna buy this. Oh, do I see $90? $90, do I see 100? So on and so forth. And we're pretty much consenting with our wallets. But I think that his response is kind of like adding salt on the wound, so to speak. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, if the way if I could think about it, it's like your sibling and yourself. Your sibling was supposed to wash the dishes, but you end up washing the dishes because of whatever happens, and then like your sibling is kind of making fun of you because you're washing it instead of they are. It kind of adds like that little like zing. It's like, okay, I gotta wash the dishes, but your ass is here acting this way and pretty much enraging me due to the fact that I have to, wash the dishes or whatnot instead of you. Definitely a bad analogy, I know, but basically what I'm trying to say is that, it was best for him to remain silent. Like, he should not have said that at all. It should have been something along the lines of like, I'm gonna try my best to see if we can accommodate our fans. We know how much you enjoy the franchise. I can't, no promises. I can't say that it won't be at $80, but we'll do whatever we can to kind of mitigate costs or blah blah blah. Even if it's like a shit served it with some like sprinkles on top of it, like at least that would have been more tolerable than just outright giving us the shit statement that he gave us. So it's just a time and a place for that type of rhetoric. So in regards to the industry, however, my question is to you guys: how high do you think is going to go before gamers, both the casual and hardcore, like come together and they're like, this is way too egregious, this price is way too much, there's no way in hell we will actually pay for this, and we're done, before companies is like, oh well, we kind of push the envelope to as far as we can, we might need to like bump it down a bit? Are we looking at like
I I don't know, man. So like, I did some, and I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
Gunner.
go
I didn't
ahead.
know.
Yeah, yeah. No, you good. I'll go after you. You're fine.
So I don't know. That's a good question. And I don't listen. I don't disagree with what you guys are saying. I'm just pointing out. I I just want to make sure that what I said was said, because I think there's some people who do feel that way, where it's just like, it's a losing battle. It is what it is.
mm-hmm.
And I don't disagree with what Randy said. That's because that's what I would say to somebody. Honestly, is like,
Yeah,
well, if you're a real fan, you find a fucking way.
yeah, me
Shut the
neither.
fuck up.
Yeah,
I found a way, to buy this game or that game, or found a way to pay off this debt or that debt. Like you have to, if you want something, you gonna make you gonna find a way to get it, right?
yeah, yeah.
Or at least you
Very
should,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
However, this is a luxury hobby. It's not necessary, and I don't believe it needs to be this expensive. And I also believe that the whole budget conversation is, that shit is so inflated. I looked at the trailer before we did, recorded this. I'm looking at it. I'm like, this just looks like
Yeah.
Borderlands.
See.
Like,
Yeah.
this doesn't need. I don't see how the budget should be that much higher than what it was 10 years ago. I mean, it will be higher because of inflation, and the cost of living is higher, so you have to pay people more. That inflates the budget. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but to go from like whatever it was back in the day, which I don't know, I'm probably gonna see if I can find it, to whatever it might be today, $200 million. That's me guessing. That's crazy. That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. But anyway, to answer your question though, what it would take is for, like what I said before, heavy damage. So I did some research and I looked up some numbers, and I don't know how accurate these numbers are. I'm gonna drop it in the Discord chat. and we'll also add it to the video description if anybody watching wants to look at it. This is from uh, alignanalytics.com. I never heard of this website, but it's an analytical website, and they have like different charts talking about like some of the top selling games on Steam and PSN in the month of March. And Assassin's, because you mentioned Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I think that's a great example that we're gonna cite probably for a long time when we're talking about this stuff. Assassin's Creed Shadows on the PlayStation sold 1.2 million copies. Steam, they sold like 300,000 copies. So we'll say 1.5 million, and if you take into account physical copies, maybe close to 2 million, right? Maybe.
Okay.
That's not a lot for an Assassin's Creed game. That's underperforming. Now, that's a lot of copies for like smaller games, but for an Assassin's Creed game, especially a modern one that presumably has a ridiculous budget, that's really low. And I did the math. 1.2 million times 70 is $84 million. If the game is, let's say, 150 million, they're at the halfway point within the first month, and it's historically known that once something comes out that first month or the first week, it only goes down from there. It never, almost nothing sustains stable sales across its lifetime. Only a few things do, like Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft, Mario Kart, but those are the exceptions to the rule. Generally, games like Assassin's Creed are like flash in the pan, like they're the hot new thing for the month, and then they kind of taper off, and they might come back on sales when they go on sale, which means they're generating less money per unit.
Yeah.
Or if there's like an expansion release or something like that, that would be the only time that you would see a game, kind of come back up in value or come back up in the sales charting or whatever. So let's just say they made 100 million. They didn't break even yet, and they're probably not going to break even for like years, or maybe not years, maybe like a few. Like it might take a whole year for them to break even, and that's not what any business wants. A business doesn't want to break even. A business wants to profit and profit handsomely. So I agree with you, Gunnar, where it's going to take a situation like this to happen to Borderlands for them to like maybe change their tune a little bit. Will it happen? Probably. Because, like you said, Borderlands isn't exactly a household name anymore.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, yeah, there's legacy there, but it's not Assassin's Creed legacy. It just isn't. And if Assassin's Creed couldn't do it and they started fucking up, you know what I'm saying? What chances Borderlands have? I don't know. Even though I think Borderlands might be a better game, I don't know. All in all, I couldn't tell you. It just looks like Borderlands to me. So to me, it's not worth the $80 or $70 launch price. But that's also to say, would $70 even matter? Like, honestly, I look at the game, I wouldn't even pay 70. I probably wouldn't pay 60 for it. If I'm being real with you, it's just like that looks like at best $40 game, and I would pay 40 if I have two other friends that are like, yeah, let's play Borderlands. That'd be the only situation where I'd, you know, fork over $40 for that game personally.
Yeah.
So like if y'all was like, oh, I'm gonna play Borderlands and it's 80, I'm like, have fun. Like I'm good. I'm not playing. I'm good. But that's just me though. So to answer your question, Esoteric, I don't know. I think it's just gonna take more hits like that where, they're just not hitting their sales budgets and they're forced to they'll never admit defeat. They'll never admit it. What they'll do is they'll
Pivot.
cut the fat. They'll reduce their studio, close down studios. They'll fire some people, but they will never give us the win. They'll never say you guys were right, we were wrong, we bit off more than we could chew. We're gonna make things right. That's never gonna happen.
which is really sad.
Never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen.
He's right about that. Yeah.
No, I know.
They're never
I know.
gonna admit defeat because at that point, and especially in the day of the internet, we will never let them live that down. Never. We will never step that back. At least I, person like me, would never. I would always have that in my back pocket as a trump card. It was like, no. And I'll pull up the sources because it's so easy to do that now. On this day, you said you were wrong for this reason and that reason. So they would never do that. Unless a dumbass CEO would come out of their face and say some shit, then that's different. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to take more situations like Assassin's Creed Shadows like Skull and Bones, like the Justice League game from last year.
Oh,
Like
that's
it's gonna
another
take
one. Yeah.
more of those. That has to become the trend for them to change their tunes and respect us as consumers. Um, and the last thing I'll say, I'm sorry, I'm kind of going on a little rant.
No, you
Gunner,
good.
you're right. Nintendo is kind of its own thing, but that's only because of recent history. Because if we look at Nintendo's overall history, they have had some deep fucking valleys. The Wii U, the GameCube, the N64, these are all generations that were not super profitable for them. So they're not susceptible, they're not like impervious to failure either. And I think they might feel that a little bit with Switch 2. We'll see. I hope they do because I think they kind of deserve it. But I think the goodwill that they've built with the Switch has given them a lot of confidence and has given them a lot of leverage. But I think at some point or another, the tides could change. But I think Nintendo has a stronger defense than Take Two and Borderlands or
Yeah.
Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I think their walls are thicker. So I'll answer your question quickly, So, mine's gonna differ a little bit from Kong. I think we're kind of there. I think the $80 price point is an inflection point because, mind you, we, as we should, right? We think in a very American viewpoint. We obviously think in our currency, but if we go to other countries, like let's just go to our neighbors up north, their currency is not the American dollar. They will be paying over $100 for their games. If it's $80 USD, it will be 100 plus Canadian.
It's even worse for Australia.
Well, Australia, like they might as well just play with rocks and sticks. Find the kangaroo and reenact Tekken because I went when I went there, they had PlayStation 4, not 4 Pro, 4s for $500. Like, so just I just want to bring it to like obviously the United States is a key market for a lot of these things. We're like the biggest spenders. Our economy is the strongest, so in theory, I know it's sometimes when you look at your wallet, you don't believe it. In theory, most Americans have more disposable income than other nations.
Yeah.
But like, so if you think it's bad for us, it's worse for other countries. And I don't, maybe the US can sustain it, but I don't think the US can, especially when people are getting priced out of the gaming industry and they're going, bro, I'll just wait for a Steam sale, or I'll just play this indie game that's $50, or I'll just wait till GameStop has it for 5, like Kong was talking about, or I'll get a buy two get one free going on, and that's good for GameStop. That's good for you, the gamer. But for Take Two, for Activision, for all those guys, that shit's a death sentence. Because like, I don't care if GameStop got the money. That's not my money. And it's like, well, shut the studio down because we all know the CEO is not going down with the ship. He's getting helicoptered out of there while you're drowning. So, my opinion, TLDR, we are there. And if it goes beyond the $70 price point that we are now, which is already pretty fucking steep for a lot of these, quite frankly, mediocre at best games, people are just going to opt out. They're going to opt out and they're going to wait for a sale because a sale will come because it's only Nintendo that rarely puts their games on sale. So I think we're there, or we're very close to being there.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully, that is what's going to happen. Hopefully that bubble will burst eventually. And I mean, as you guys already stated, I don't expect CEOs or studios to come to their senses. The development team will. The people that are working underneath them will definitely like they're probably like shaking their heads and like pretty much putting them down in the sand and whatnot and just doing what they are being told to do just to earn a paycheck at this point. Because I'm pretty sure people who are like in the trenches who are working on these games understand what most like what the fan base wants and whatnot and the expectations of them. But it's just the higher the mountain, the steeper the climb, and the people that are on top are not willing to listen. It's the harder hearing they become. They refuse to listen to their their subordinates, their team, and whatnot, and it's really sad. Um, and it's funny because it's like business 101 is always less is more, right? Are they not taking a gander at like what's happening with these indie titles, and it's like, oh, well, they're charging 50, 40, $30 a game. Okay, well, what was their budget on the game that they made? Uh 250,000. It's like, why aren't you guys emulating that? Like, they're doing big success. Expedition 33 is super successful. A remaster of which we spoke about in the last topic last week. Um, Oblivion is making gangbusters. Like, they're selling gangbusters. Like, so what is going on? Like, I don't understand the ideology behind these suits. I mean, I guess the only obvious
Well,
thing would be
it's big money gambling. That's really what it boils down to. If we invest big on something that's likely to succeed, then we'll make big money back. So I ran some numbers while you were talking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like cut in front of
Oh
you.
no, you're good. You're good.
Sure, okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure you got your point. It sounded like you were winding down. So.
Yeah, I was about to pretty much say what you were saying, but just to add that they're just looking to collect a paycheck at the end of the day, the higher ups, and that's it.
And aren't we all, right? Really. So according to this chart, right, Monster Hunter Wilds in March on Steam alone did 3.2 million sales,
Okay.
right? And that equates, and the $70 a pop, that equates to $224 million, right? That alone already pays for like probably a good chunk of the development for maybe all of it for Monster Hunter Wilds. I would venture to say, because if something like Spider-Man 2 was 300 million, even though Monster Hunter is a way better game, even though that one disappointed me, but like I can't believe that Monster Hunter did, the development cost was higher than 250 million. I doubt it, right? That's not to mention Steam does take 30%, so 30% of that goes to Steam. Same with PlayStation, 30% of that goes to PlayStation. And for the few that bought it on Xbox, some of that goes to Microsoft. But like those are the numbers that they want to hit. And Assassin's Creed didn't hit it, that's for sure. Fucking Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint outsold Assassin's Creed at 431,000 copies because it was on sale. It was like $5. So it's like, damn. But that's units per that's units sold. So like Assassin's Creed made more money than Ghost Recon, but Ghost Recon was a game that they developed like 8 years ago. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's like nothing because they've already made their money back on that development cycle. So it's like this is just icing on the cake for them.
Yeah.
So that's why they want to make to executives. It's like, and this is my thought process. This is my presumption. I don't know. I'm not in these people's heads, but when I did work, in not in corporate, but like when I worked at a job and I had to deal with people from corporate, and I had to interact with these people. This is how they're super simple. Like they're not really all that complicated. They just want more money. That's really it. They're not interested in any nuance. They're not interested in any details. They don't want to know the backstory. I don't give a fuck. Make me more money. Period. For the least amount of work. I want the most amount of money for the least amount of work. You find that balance, and that's where I want to live. That's how these people operate. So when an executive is like, okay, I have, $50 million to invest. What do you guys have for me? Guys like Randy are going to be like, well, we have Borderlands. It's historically sold X amount of blah, blah, blah. And he's going to pitch it to them. And they're like, okay, well, historically it's sold well. Surely it'll sell well again because history is the best indicator of what's going to happen in the future, which is true. And so that's how they invest. And so they're expecting to get a return on their investment. And when it doesn't happen, they go, well, what the fuck? You said that this can sell X amount of copies. Why hasn't it? Right? That's when the heads start to crack. That's when motherfuckers start getting fired. That's because now you're playing with these guys' money. So that's what it's going to take. And Gunnar might be right. We might be at that breaking point. Microsoft, we talked about it, last week's episode. Microsoft is, or 2 weeks ago, depends on when this goes out. Microsoft is firing 3% of their workforce, which is almost 8,000 people. And they reported record high profits. Like, they're making money and they're still firing people. So, like, if they're not making money, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's really what it boils down to. And so, us as individuals and as hobbyists, consumers, we just have to be smarter, and we have to train ourselves to be better at recognizing when we're getting fleeced. We have to be better at having discipline when we got to stand on business. We got to be like, listen, if this game is not delivering what we want, I have to kind of like fight the FOMO. Yeah, all my friends are playing it, but like I gotta stand strong, stand behind my beliefs, and make better financial decisions. Because hopefully, there's enough of me out there making the same moves to where it can cause a domino effect, and we'll get our way. Hopefully, it's sometime soon.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But that's kind of like my response to that.
I think we will, bro. Because we are getting to that. We are getting to the point where it's either for the average Joe, do I buy Borderlands 4? Let's say, let's go full dystopian. Borderlands 4 is $100. Every game's $100 a pop. Do I spend $100 on Borderlands 4, or do I buy groceries this week? Now, the logical conclusion is you buy food because you need food. You can't eat Borderlands. Borderlands can't sustain you. And I don't think there's enough people that are going to go, I want to play Borderlands over the people who go, nah, you know what? I might have a family. I got this. My son needs new sneakers. My wife wants to, go out. I don't need this game right now. This game's $100 and that's a bill. And I think the gaming industry is going to lose that bet. I think that's a bet they're going to lose because not everyone has disposable income. Not everyone's getting taken care by the government. There are a lot of people who go, this is a hobby. I have a huge backlog of games I haven't even touched yet. I don't need your game for $100. Y'all can fuck all the way off with that. So we're hitting that territory. Like games are competing with bills at this point, and I'd really like to think there are more people that are willing to prioritize their actual physical needs, food, water, shelter, over playing the next AAA fucking slop that performs the same as the last three games. So, but
Yeah.
I'll let you go, So I know you've been waiting.
No, I was gonna say I certainly hope so. Because I mean, I have seen quite a few people who have like purchased items, from GameStop, and then I would come in like maybe a week or two later to see what's out there, and they're returning said item. I mean, I just hope it's like a finite number of those people, because responsibilities, right? You guys are absolutely right, and I'm hoping for the latter. I'm hoping that we're at that point because hopefully the industry can like kind of pivot, kind of understand that their shit does stink and kind of move forward accordingly, giving us better quality games and kind of like I don't know if they'll ever lower the price, but pretty much come to some type of middle ground with like their fan base and the stuff that they're producing. You guys are absolutely right. Whew.
Yeah, I mean it's
And I want to throw one more thing out there too. I'll let you go, but one more thing, and we could close out. Go ahead.
No. It's just my close is it seems dark with the game industry, but again, this is a pastime that we have.
Yeah.
We all have backlogs of games. Kong said it the best, and we've said it multiple times on multiple episodes. Fight the FOMO. Half these games coming out are not even worth the hype. They're really not. Yeah, that's about it. Half of them are not worth the hype, and $80, $90, $100, bro. Fucking keep that money aside and find Find a less expensive hobby. Like you don't need these games at launch. You just really don't. But that's it for me.
Yeah, I'll close with this. It's super dangerous. I didn't think about this until just now. I was just like scrolling and just it came to me. It's extra dangerous for these guys and these like single player like one shot title games.
Mm-hmm.
When I say one shot, I mean like they release it and they have to perform really well within that first 2 week window. Because a lot of people, and this is thanks to the industry, you know, a lot of people are very comfortable playing the Marvel rivals, the Fortnites of the world. They're good just playing that game over and over and over again. And those games are designed to keep you engaged and keep you coming back to them. And a lot of people are complacent by nature. And so it's like they will go where it's comfortable. And to think about, you know, I hope that they're thinking about this. That consumer is just like, yeah, I could spend $80 on this new game. Yeah, it looks kind of fun. Or I could take $20 and buy the new battle pass on whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and keep playing that, right? Like I have a friend who, you know, he just hit me up today. We were just chatting, catching up, and he was like, dude, you know, Helldivers, you know, we still need another. And I'm like, I'm good. But it's funny because over the last like I'm gonna say almost 6 months, he hasn't played Helldivers. He's been playing other things, right? Bouncing from one game to the other, and he just kind of went back to Helldivers, and I'm just like, that's interesting. Like those games always kind of like the door's always open. Come back whenever you like, and you know, and
You
Yeah,
can see other
because
games. It's all right.
because they're
it's an open relationship.
it's because they're consistent. It's like, you know, if you've
Hey,
if
for better or for worse.
yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and so for these guys, they're competing with that, and that's a tough proposition for a lot of people, especially in the economy today. That's something that needs to be considered, and that could bite us in the ass, you know, overall. Because if more companies and more executives kind of take notice of that, they might go, "We're not investing in anything that's not a live service game.
Oh my
Make the
God.
next Fortnite." And so, if that happens, we're not going to get anything. We're not even going to get the shitty Assassin's Creed Shadows or Borderlands or Justice League games. Like we won't even get that anymore. Everything will just be an online only game. And at that point, I'm done. Like at that point, I'm just finished with modern gaming altogether. And I'll just play old games exclusively. That's fine. That's where I'll just live.
We're gonna get
So
Concord again.
yeah. So that's gonna happen. I think Marathon is like
Marathon. I was
the
like,
new Concord. So
Marathon
like
might be the new Concord.
we're getting one every 6 months, it seems. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens. But my stance is the same. Like, you know, fight the FOMO. Don't make yourself susceptible to it. Find other hobbies that might fill that gap, because this one is like it has been taken over. It has been hijacked, and I don't think there's any coming back from it. I think the only way that we can come back is with a reset. The industry has to crash, and the people who are considered indie now kind of have to rise up to becoming AAA during that reset, to where these big companies kind of like, you know what, I'm done with gaming, and so these guys become the big guys, and hopefully
Oh, that would be
with
so
this
awesome.
new regime. With this new regime, it doesn't fall back into.
I was gonna say the vicious
place.
cycle
La,
continues.
La Revolution.
I was a revolutionary. Now I'm the bourgeoisie. Oh, I like being in my palace. I can see why they liked it so much.
And history repeat. And then when we're old, 85-year-olds, like, back in my 2025 during the crash, right? So
Shut
we'll
up,
see.
Grandpa. It's Fortnite Extreme in my corneas.
Yeah, it's fucking like things that insert themselves into your eyeballs and like you're in the game. Ugh, no, thank you.
Ooh.
Oh God! As soon as you said that, I thought of that. What was that movie with Sandra Bullock? What was this? Bird Box. The
Oh,
dude,
yeah.
Oh,
the
Bird
meme
Box,
with the
yeah.
guy just opening. It's like, see.
Yeah. I was thinking of the space movie. I was like, there was no virtual reality in that movie. I forget what the name was. It was a good space movie though. Anyway, Gunnar, you
All
can
right.
close us out.
Yes, indeed. All right, so, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, I hope you enjoyed our discussions for tonight. Let us know what you think. Are you a huge Borderlands fan? Are you buying the $120 collector's edition? Or are you kind of like, hopefully, in my opinion, waking up to kind of realizing I don't need to buy these things day one? They're not going anywhere. Let us know. Like, comment, subscribe. We definitely look forward to reading your comments. We check them out. We respond to as many as we can. So more engagement, the better. Um, Social medias, we got them. If you use them, follow us there. We got the Discord, Twitters, Facebooks. We got them. So check them out if that's your thing. If you want to see, well, one more of us, Mr. Esoteric is our resident streamer, streaming on the Logical Gamers channel. He runs the Gauntlet. He plays modern games. He's not adverse to that. He also plays fucking old ass games.
Good modern
So
games, by the way. Good ones. Good ones. Well,
yeah,
that's arguable too.
he did play Assassin's Creed. I don't. But you know what? He like. That's fine. If you like it, come to the stream, check it out. We don't bully anybody for their choices in video games. You play what you like what you like. Esoteric streams the Gauntlet. He'll play indies. He'll play major releases. He'll play old school games. So there's gonna be something that he's playing that you're gonna like. So we'd love to see you there. We're usually around in some fashion, so the more the merrier. Make sure to check him out. Yeah, that's about it. Once again, thank you everybody for watching and listening. Thank you, gentlemen, for another fine conversation. And on that note, we will see you all in the next episode.
All right. Take care.